Portuguese fleet limps across the Indian Ocean, headed for home. Behind them lies Calicut and the smoking ruins of the first battle. Ahead lies thousands of miles of empty ocean, and an enemy they cannot fight with cannons, disease. The voyage back to Portugal tests every skill the Portuguese have learned over 40 years of exploration. Scurvy begins its deadly work within weeks of leaving Calicut. At first, just fatigue, aching joints, bleeding gums. Then, the teeth loosen and fall out, old wounds reopen, the skin bruises at the slightest touch. Men who survive storms and battles die slowly in their hammocks, crying for water, for food, for home. The anonymous chronicler records the horror.
Many of our men fell sick here, their feet and hands swelling, and their gums growing over their teeth so that they could not eat.
Da Gama pushes his fleet hard, knowing that every day at sea means more death. They round the Cape of Good Hope, fighting the same storms that nearly killed Diaz. They sail up the African coast, stopping briefly for water and fresh food. But it's too late for many. By the time they reach the Azores, half the expedition is dead. 70 men. They're left in unmarked graves on African beaches or given to the sea in canvas shrouds. The cruelest blow falls within sight of home. Paulo da Gama, Vasco's brother, the man who began his journey as his closest companion. He never sees Portugal again. Paulo dies in the Azores, his body wasted by scurvy just days from Lisbon. Da Gama buries his brother on the island of Terceira, in a small church overlooking the Atlantic. The ocean that carried them to glory has taken his brother. It's a reminder that even successful expeditions carry devastating personal costs. Victory tastes like ashes when you bury your brother within sight of home. When Vasco da Gama finally reaches Lisbon, the city erupts. Church bells ring. Crowds flood the waterfront. King Manuel orders 3 days of celebration. The route to India is open. Portuguese ships can now bypass the Venetian monopoly and the Ottoman Empire, all the middlemen who've grown rich off the spice trade. But if you look closely at the Gama's face, you see something else, not just triumph, but exhaustion, grief, and the haunted look of a man who's seen too much death. King Manuel greets da Gama as a hero, showering him with titles and estates, the Admiral of the Indian Seas. He receives everything a man could want: wealth, land, power, and glory. But 70 men won't return home to their families, including Paulo. That's the price of empire. Da Gama's ships carry samples of what awaits Portugal in the east: small quantities of pepper, cinnamon, cloves, ginger, not much, just enough to prove the route is real. But the map is simple and devastating to Portugal's rivals. A pound of pepper costs 1 ducat in Calicut, sells for 10 in Lisbon and 20 in Venice. Even accounting for losses at sea, the profit margins are astronomical. Portugal has found the golden goose, and they're not going to share it with anyone. In Venice, merchants gather in their counting houses, studying the reports with growing dread. The Portuguese have done it. They found a sea route around Africa. For centuries, Venice has controlled the spice trade to Europe. Their ships dominate the Mediterranean. Their merchants have exclusive contracts with Alexandria. Their profits fund palaces and armies. But all of that depends on one thing: being the only connection between East and West. Now the Portuguese offer an alternative. The Venetian Senate calls emergency sessions. Do they send diplomats to Lisbon, offer an alliance, try to sabotage Portuguese plans perhaps? Or do they just accept that their monopoly is doomed?
Gentlemen, we face not just competition, but catastrophe. If Portugal controls the sea route, Venice becomes irrelevant. We must act or watch our republic starve.
In Cairo, the Mamluk Sultan receives reports from his agents in Calicut from the Red Sea ports from Alexandria. The news is catastrophic. The Mamluk Empire depends on the spice trade, taxes on goods flowing from India through the Red Sea to Cairo, then to Alexandria, and then to Europe. This trade funds everything: their army, their bureaucracy, the Sultan's power. Without it, the empire collapses. The Sultan faces an existential threat. The Portuguese have found a way to bypass his entire kingdom. Every ship that sails around Africa is a ship that doesn't pay taxes in Cairo.
The Portuguese threaten not just our trade, but our very existence. The Sultan must act, or watch his kingdom starve.
The Mamluk military machine begins to move. Ships are commissioned, troops are mustered, alliances are sought. The Sultan sends urgent messages to the Ottoman Empire, to the rulers of India, to anyone who might help stop the Portuguese threat. In Istanbul, Ottoman Sultan Bayezid II receives reports from agents across the Indian Ocean. The Portuguese presence threatens everything: Ottoman expansion into the Indian Ocean, Muslim dominance over crucial trade routes, the wealth that flows to Istanbul from Eastern trade. The Ottomans are the most powerful Muslim state in the world. They've conquered Constantinople, they control the Eastern Mediterranean, they're expanding into the Middle East. But Portuguese ships in the Indian Ocean represent a new kind of threat, a threat from the sea, from a direction they never expected. Ottoman naval commanders begin studying Portuguese tactics, ships' designs, weapons. If these Christians can sail to India, the Ottoman must be able to stop them. Or better yet, meet them with equal force. Back in Calicut, the Samudri faces a new reality. The peaceful, profitable world of Indian Ocean commerce is under assault. Arab merchants demand action. The Ottoman Sultan sends messages of concern. From Cairo to Constantinople, the Muslim world awakens to this new threat. The Samudri begins fortifying his coast, seeking alliances with other Indian rulers, building new ships, training new crews, acquiring better weapons. His advisors are clear about what's coming. Even as da Gama celebrates in Lisbon, Portuguese shipyards are building new fleets. Portugal has tasted the wealth of the East, and now nothing will stop them from claiming it all. King Manuel authorizes new expeditions with explicit military objectives. The next Portuguese fleet to sail for India will carry not merchants but conquerors, not trade goods but cannons, soldiers, and weapons of war. The shipyards worked day and night, building a fleet larger than anything Portugal has ever assembled. More ships, more cannons, more men. This time, they're not going to negotiate, they're going to take. As 1499 draws to close, the consequences of da Gama's voyage ripple across 3 continents. Portugal has opened the sea route to Asia, but they've also triggered a conflict that will consume the Indian Ocean for the next century. In Calicut, the Samudri fortifies his defenses. In Cairo, the Mamluks mobilize their armies. In Istanbul, the Ottomans prepare their fleets. In Venice, merchants plot to preserve their ancient privileges. And in Lisbon, Portugal builds an armada of conquest. Vasco da Gama's voyage has achieved more than anyone dared dream. Portuguese ships have reached India and returned with proof of the East's immense wealth. From the palaces of Lisbon to the markets of Calicut, from the mosques of Cairo to the temples of Goa, everyone understands that the world has changed forever, but success has come at a price. The age of peaceful Indian Ocean trade is ending. In its place rises something new, the European Maritime Empire. The Portuguese have fired the opening shots in a war that will redraw the map of the world. The Portuguese have come to the Indian Ocean, and they have come to stay. The Empire of the Sea is about to be born in blood, in faith, and in unimaginable wealth. The age of Portuguese dominance has begun. Thanks for watching this series. I really appreciate you spending your time here. If you liked it, don't forget to press the like button, subscribe, and perhaps share it with somebody who might enjoy it as well. See you in the next one.